Hello.
Hello.
We're back.
Again.
I wish y'all could see this little pile of emotional support corn checks that Abby has here.
I won't eat them while we record. I will refrain.
Unless y'all like the sound of crunch, crunch, crunching. I enjoy it, personally. I love to feed, we have a beagle, and I love to feed him snow peas.
Yeah, he does. It's very crunchy.
It is an amazing sound. I find it very satisfying. Anyway, I have an emotional support coffee, so clearly we're going through some things.
Today has been a day.
It's a day. It's a day.
Oh my God.
Not like, it's not like horrible and overwhelming. It's just like things, feelings. Are you horribly or
Yes.
You're horribly overwhelmed?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes.
I'm just tender. I'm not horribly overwhelmed. I'm just like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's fair.
Okay. But we're going to do this anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
We're here. I'm here. We're going to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just like get going. We're going to start out with a question that's specifically tarot, and then we're going to like shift into just like some Enneagram stuff.
Okay.
Like that's some of which is tarot adjacent also. Just didn't require me to pull cards, but did pull a card for this first question, which is, how can I move through the waves of sadness that a new year brings? Yeah.
Did this person give an Enneagram type?
They did not. Are you like, I wonder what... You're like, oh, this is a 4.
I mean...
Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like a question I would ask. For sure. But anyway, here's the card that I pulled. 5 of Pentacles. You just be sad. I mean, I think that's a big part of this, honestly.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I see that as like, why are you so focused on the sad?
See, this is the difference between answering these questions from an 8 perspective and from a 4 perspective. I'm like, just feel it.
Yeah.
Just dig in.
And I'm like, why are you hanging out outside the church? Why don't you just go in?
Isn't that fascinating? This is why you should know your Enneagram type.
It's true. It's true.
When you're pulling cards, it makes such a huge difference.
You know, take some time to think about, Yeah,
it's going to require some discernment.
Yeah.
Like knowing yourself and looking at years past. Like, are you trying to fight the sadness too much? And that's where we're getting some issues coming up. And so you just need to lean into it and trust that it's going to pass like it has every year.
Or do you wallow in sadness most of the time and you're just using the new year as an excuse, and you need to like look at how there's actually wonderful, beautiful things happening in the new year and spend more of your energy there.
Right. Yeah, there's some options.
I mean, there's always sadness and there's always beauty and there's always joy. Yeah. They're all kind of always intertwined. And so it really, really does come down to like what you focus on and what you habitually focus on.
But let's talk about this a little bit more because I'm having some more thoughts.
Okay.
For one thing, it makes me think of seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, that's
and like,
true.
How is that playing in? Like, there's some cold, wintry energy happening in 5 of Pentacles. And so, like looking honestly at that, like, is that a factor here? Like, does it really have to do with the new year, like this arbitrary, turn of the calendar? Or are we looking at, I'm just like in this seasonal slump? Yeah. And that's really what I need to like focus on. Also, like so much, like, the way we treat our bodies during the holiday season is not usually that good. We usually fall out of routines. We overindulge. Things get weird. And then by the time January rolls around, we have a lot of expectations about how we're supposed to feel in our bodies, and we don't. And so I think 5 of Pentacles can also be about giving yourself some grace in that space. Like, it's going to take a while to come back home to your body after going off track at the end of the year.
Well, and also there can be a lot of feelings around coming back to routines, even if you know they're good and supportive.
Yeah.
If you were really off the rails in the holidays, it can feel like kind of a letdown to come back to your routines. So, that's definitely part of it too.
Yeah, there's a lot here to look at.
There's a lot here.
Yeah, there is.
Cool.
Yeah, so we didn't really give you an answer. We gave you some questions. Some things to ponder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way it always is, truly. Okay, so now here we have a straight up Enneagram question here, okay? This is a type 2. This isn't necessarily pertinent to the question, but a type 2 did ask this. Is it possible to grow out of your type? No. So you're going to take this one because you're the Enneagram expert on the panel here.
No.
Well, tell us why. Or,
no. No, just leave it at that.
Next.
Well, okay, so, I mean, no, you're not going to outgrow your type. Because essentially, if we look at the Enneagram, our Enneagram types for what they are, which is essentially a set of coping mechanisms that, I mean, maybe at this point they're maladapted, but they certainly didn't start out that way, right? They were what we had access to, and they served us. In terms of like neural pathways and whatnot, those are just very deeply ingrained, and that doesn't go away, right? So it's kind of like riding a bike. You may learn other skills. You may learn skills that lie outside of your Enneagram types, general habitual responses and patterns. But those habitual responses and patterns are always going to be there and be accessible to you. It's less about growing out of your type and more about becoming conscious of your type and developing skills outside of it so that you can act more appropriately when the time comes.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Thanks.
I think that this question is also probably like rooted as a lot of like, it's rooted in like shame around your type, because I think a lot of us have that, the Enneagram exposes a lot of ways that we're just extra shitty, you know, and not full human beings. We're limited and all of these things. And I think a lot of us are like, oh, how can I become less this? How can I become not this? Isn't Enneagram work about like erasing my type, so that I can be better?
It's about embracing your type. It's about understanding your type, and it's about learning how to also think, feel, and act differently, right? So we look around the circle, we have access to all of these points, but we never really go there, and so therefore we're living in a more limited and kind of pigeonholed sort of way, where if we explored these energies more and allowed them to kind of come in and change us, right, then we have more access to different ways of thinking, feeling, and being. There's going to be a certain set that we always rely on and fall back on. But, they're not necessarily bad. They're just overused. Yeah. And, I mean, when you find your Enneagram type and you start doing the work, it should make you feel like an asshole. Yeah. You don't need to, I don't think it needs to go as far as, like, shame, right? Because it's not anything personal. This isn't who you really are. But, like, you should look at that and be like,
let it make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, let it make you uncomfortable. Be willing to be uncomfortable. But know that, like, that's not who you are on the deepest level, right? That's just what you had to do to get by. And you can learn new things. Those things are always going to be there, and sometimes they are the most appropriate option. But you have to learn new things as well.
Yeah. As you were talking about like having access to all of the energies on the Enneagram, like it really made me think of like our birth charts, and how like we have all of the signs of the zodiac are in us, even though we have planets that more heavily weight particular energies, like your sun's in Libra, okay, but that doesn't mean you have like no Leo energy. You do. You just might not have any planets there, and so it's hard to access that. But it's still like it belongs to you. Just like you might, like it's like you have a heavy planet placement in type 2. But you can still get to some other spaces. Anyway, just made me think of that. All these languages these archetypal languages are all very similar. Okay, here's another like Enneagrams. This is more tarot related. So this is a type 6, also not really pertinent, but a type 6 is asking, I'm curious about the relationship between the different elements and the triads, meaning head, heart, gut, or body.
Yeah, so we're talking about the suits of the tarot and the centers of intelligence of the Enneagram.
That's right. And how do they correspond? And it's interesting because there are 4 suits of the Enneagram, or of the tarot, right? 4 elements, but there's only 3 centers of intelligence. Yeah. So we have reconciled that when we teach this in a way that I think is useful. Yeah. So we correspond heart, cups. Yeah. Obviously. I mean, that's pretty basic. Head, swords, pretty basic. Then we're left with Wands and Pentacles, both of which, then we got to decide which one goes with body or the gut.
Honestly, we've taught it that it's more Wands with the body. And I think it actually should just be both.
You think it should just be both? Yeah. Well, when we've taught it before, because now you're switching things up on me, and I'm like, whoa,
throwing a curveball.
Hold on. We've associated Wands with the body triad because it is so gut-centered.
Yeah, and the connection to anger, especially.
Yes, that's why we chose...
Anger and passion and that sort of thing.
That's why we chose Wands. Because body types, you're 1. The body types are which numbers again?
8, 9, and 1.
And 9 and 1. And so they're they're leaning on their gut center of intelligence, which is like instinctual. And then fear is like their primary, what do you call it? Is it
No, it's anger is their primary emotion.
Anger, yes. Primary emotion, thank
filter.
you. And so that just makes sense with Wands, because that's where we see anger really show up. And it's also where we see that kind of instinctual movement and that hunger that body types have. So that makes the most sense to me. And then Pentacles then kind of becomes... To me, the suit of Pentacles, it can be about body, it can be about resources, but a lot of the times it's about like putting our spirituality into practice.
Yeah.
And so really like we're using all the other centers of intelligence to do that work, to do Pentacles work of like living out our values and et cetera, So that's the way we've associated that. And it works well.
Yeah.
And there are other elements of the tarot where like, there are 4 things, and then we're trying to like fit them in with a 3-part system in the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And we've done that with the court cards and stuff, and it all works really well because then we have some unifying piece that like ties everything else together. So that's the way that it works with the suits and the centers of intelligence. Yeah, it's neat. Okay. Now we have someone who does not know their Enneagram type. Totally fine. They want advice from the tarot for their relationship with money. Advice from the tarot for my relationship with money. Okay. That was all. That was the whole question. So I just had to kind of like, I'm expanding it a little bit. Okay. So what I asked was, what card represents your relationship with money now? 5 of Cups. What card represents a more aligned relationship with money for you? 6 of Wands. And how do you bridge this? How do you get from 5 of Cups to 6 of Wands, 3 of Pentacles? Can we see all of those?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so 5 of Cups, I mean, okay.
You're sad about it.
That's not good. You're sad about it. Yeah, you're looking at what's not there. There's a lot of focus on like, not what's available to you, but what's not available to you, so that's a big difference here. But there's also the starkest thing that I notice between 5 of Cups and 6 of Wands is a sense of like secrecy and shame. 5 of Cups is like a Scorpio card, and Scorpio is like the sign of secrets, right? And 6 of Wands is a Leo card, and Leo is the sign of like being out there and it's open, right? Sun, there's light on things. So that's a big difference between like keeping it to yourself and being like hiding, your relationship with it because you feel bad about what's going on versus like letting people see it and having a sense of like, maybe, I mean, there is pride in this card, but I think it's more just about exposure and like letting people see what's happening here. So like, to me, that's a really big difference. Especially because we have 3 of Pentacles as the bridge, which is like community. So I just wonder, like, how secretive are you about your relationship with money? Does anyone know what's going on and how you feel about it? And like, what would it be like for you to ask for help or let someone in and just like get another perspective on things so it doesn't feel so shameful and like let it fester in the dark, that doesn't feel right.
That's good.
Yeah. Do you have anything to say about these cards or?
No, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. And 3 of Pentacles could be like, you actually get help, like, from a financial advisor person, but it could also just be someone in your life who's like, who can support you and listen. And, I just think it's about having a team around you. So that you're not trying to like do this all on your own and feeling like, I mean, you can't do this stuff on your own. You just can't. That's a fact. Okay. Another question from someone, don't know your Enneagram type. How do I step into my power, and what would that look like? Okay, let me see if I can find all these cards that I pulled. I pulled a lot of cards here. First, a card for what card best represents the seat of your inner power. Like, what is that? King of Wands. Holy shit. I mean, if you want a card of like personal power and being embodied,
yeah,
King of Wands is it.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Lovely. I love to see this. Okay, what's your obstacle? Why are you not accessing this? I pulled the Magician reversed. Okay? So this Magician reversed really just made, it's Mercury, right? It's very headspace, lots of communication, thoughts, stuff. So I wonder, like, how much are you in your head? And how much are you, like, hoping that your sense of, like, power is something that you can, like, theorize about or feel intellectually? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas we have King of Wands is very much like, again, we talked just now about Wands being like gut, is very much like in your body, and moving instinctually and having that be your seat of power rather than it being a head thing. So I pulled some more cards. I was like, okay, how do we, deal with this Magician reversed obstacle? I pulled the Empress. Okay, to me, Empress is a very like, there's a lot of body stuff happening in the Empress, acceptance of the body, being in the body. I asked if that was the story. Are we talking about getting in the body? I pulled 10 of Swords. To me, that's like, it's just about getting out of the head. It's not even so much about getting in the body as out of the head. Like, that seems critical. So I just wonder, like, how much time are you spending up here?
Yeah.
And then I pulled just another card for, how do we drop out of the head? And I pulled Queen of Wands. So now we have the Queen and the King of Wands. I promise I'm getting somewhere with this. And what this really made me think of was like breathing into your hara, that like part of your body that's like in between. It's like just below your belly button, and it's like a seat of power. It's a Japanese word, right? And I remember this one time I was taking this shiatsu class. It was a very long class. It was a couple weeks, and we spent a lot of time like breathing into our hara, like doing specific breathing exercises designed to like activate this. Because when you're doing shiatsu, that's what you're supposed to move from this place in your body. And I remember we did this really long like breathing exercise at the end of the day, and then like right after that class, I went to like the grocery store or something. And the way that my body was moving was so amazingly different than normal. And everyone was like looking at me. It was really weird. I was like, what is happening? Like, I was attracting a lot of attention. It was very strange. And that doesn't normally happen to me. Like, I can move through the world. I'm pretty invisible. But I was just like getting all these looks, and I was like, oh, that's why. Like, it took me a little while to realize, but I was like, it's because I am moving from this very different place energetically in my body than normal. And that energy is like a palpable thing. Yeah. Other people can feel it. I could feel it in the way I was moving. So that's what the King and the Queen of Wands here really made me think. Was like working with this center of your body so that you can get out of your head where it seems like it's not very effective. Like Magician reversed, that's not a very effective energy. It's not a very good channel. Things are like clogged up, right? So if you're not feeling like you have access to your own seat and center of power, maybe it's because it's up here and you belong down here, deeper. So there are lots of YouTube videos on this stuff. YouTube is so great. So if like you have no idea, like what would it look like to do any kind of exercise around like finding that part of your body, YouTube is the place to go. H-A-R-A, hara. I would work with it and just like see what happens. It's certainly not going to hurt.
Breath work is super powerful.
And maybe that would just really help because, so often I think we do like, we talked about this before, is like, we think so much of our work is about talking about it. And here it's like, is this idea of your personal sense of power just like theoretical? You just think, can you think your way into it?
No, you can't.
You can't. You have to resource your way into it. I don't know, that's not the word that I want, but like you have this tool of your body, and that's what you need to like lean on. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Good. I mean, I don't know.
Waiting to crunch those little checks.
Yeah.
Just like, please help.
It's okay. It's been a day.
It's been a day.
But we did it.
We did this. This is all that I want to do today since, you know.
We have another one coming out soon, so.
We do. So this was fun.
Yeah.
I hope it's helpful in some way. And we'll be back again shortly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bye, all.
Bye.